this is, in fact, Trial by Fire, Untold Stories. I'm RJ.
I'm Jared Buckley.
I'm Anthony Fleming.
So we have the unique pleasure of sitting with my good friend at this point, Mr. Anthony Fleming.
And he's going to interview us.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to at least introduce him, and then
let's do that.
Maybe we put it back on the rails.
Ooh.
And just to get it off again. You know?
Okay.
So, Anthony, you've been fire chief, volunteer department for, I lost count, a long time ago.
45
This is my 25th year, yes. Yeah.
You've been in the fire service since you were...
I grew up in the fire service, started as a junior member in 1986 at 12 years old.
Wow.
Whether you call it a junior member or an explorer program. Yeah.
Didn't even know that's a thing. 12.
Running around the firehouse getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Or staying out of trouble.
That's exactly right.
If you want to be invited back.
Yeah.
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 Yep. Yes,
Well, let's
sir.
start there then.
Okay.
Let's talk about staying out of trouble. Why were you in the firehouse at 12? Give me what happened? How'd you end up there?
Well, my father. So, his dad was a fireman. My dad was a fireman. And, I decided, okay, pretty cool thing. Let's go hang out at the firehouse. I had a couple young friends, again, 12 years of age or so, that decided to be involved as well. Some of us, besides me, still involved. And I thought it was a pretty cool thing. And it did, we did get into some mischief, but it was something to do and kept us off the streets, away from drugs, if you will. And, we hung out at the firehouse and got put to work and just had a good time and learned from it. The good thing about it was, when I turned 16 years of age, back then child labor laws weren't as strict as they are now. So 16-year-old, you were allowed to do a good bit more than you are today, and a good bit more than when I was 12, 13, 14, and 15. And then, of course, once I turned 18, went into the full-fledged membership and already had the training I needed, the knowledge I needed, and went right in rather than somebody just coming off the street and having to learn everything. But again, started in 1986 and worked my way up through captain's positions, assistant chief positions, and then on to chief in 2000.
Were you always in the fire service, or were you doing other jobs in addition to the fire service? I mean,
so the fire service that I'm involved in is 100% volunteer.
Okay.
So my first actual job would have probably been when I was about 14 years old. So yes, I did work as well, but the fire department was always my go-to. That was my evening gig, if you will. And of course, I was still in school, high school, elementary school, whatever it might have been, middle school, and that was always what I would do. After school hours, after homework, or I would even go there and do homework. It was whenever if I would ride on the bus home from school, or I would get picked up by my mom or grandmother after school, we would always go by the firehouse so I could see who was at the firehouse. We didn't have cell phones back then to call and see who was there. So I would always want to see who was there and stop and see if they were going to be there so I could come to the firehouse. Because back then we couldn't go there if nobody else. If there wasn't an adult present, we couldn't be there.
Oh, gotcha.
So it was pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's that like? Now there's still some younger kids and stuff getting involved, but like you said, the age to do stuff has gone up, over the years. And so what's that like? What was it like getting in and, learning through the firehouse versus some other more traditional type of learning? What's that experience like?
Well, that's a good question. The best I could say there is that learning from people in the firehouse, so my father passed away when I was 14 years old. But what the nice thing about the firehouse was I learned from several different male role models, some good, some bad. And they were all like father figures in one way or another. Wow. So to learn from them, if that's what you're asking, it was a good experience because I learned many different ways of life depending on how those certain individuals live their lives. Again, good and bad. Mm-hmm. So not only did I learn from the good people, I learned the bad people as well and what not to do.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting.
Did they take you under your wing, like they saw it as a father figure, or because your dad passed away, or was that just you took it as that, or did they purposely take you under their wing?
No, it was. I would say it was It was both.
Okay.
It was a two-way street. There were certain male role models there that definitely paid more attention to me than others, which was fine. Not everybody was. I didn't expect anybody to be a father to me. It was just how it worked out.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a few that would stand out to where I would maybe go to their house for dinner, or that was the phone number I knew the best to call, and if I needed a ride to the fire station, so on and so forth. So yeah.
Do you see? I don't mean to jump too far into the present already, but do you see the fire service operating like it did back then, where from a volunteer standpoint, are there younger kids coming in and learning like you did when you're 12, 14, 16, or has that changed a bit?
It's
today?
changed a lot. Yeah, it's not nearly the same as it was back in 1986, as other things aren't either.
Sure.
But the fire service, especially the volunteer fire service that I know, has changed and not even close to what it was back then. Whether it's child labor laws, for one, they're so much watched over now for obvious reasons. But a 12, 13, 14-year-old back then could. I went into burning buildings for training when I was probably 13 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
You can't do that now?
You can't do that.
I mean, nobody cared. It was just nobody even thought about it. Hey, come on, you want to be involved? Come on, we'll take you in here. Let's go. And we did it.
Wow.
And it kept us involved. Now I have to tell a 12, 13, 14-year-old, pretty much all you can do is just hang out and watch and learn and sweep the floor over there, and help out with fundraising. So it's definitely changed in that aspect. It's changed in the aspect that nowhere near the amount of people want to be involved, the younger kids. They're too worried about being on their phone or social media. They're more worried about that. So it's definitely did a turnaround. And it's a scary turnaround because I'm sure Wade will get into this more, but the volunteer fire service as a whole, I tell when I do my speaking to, we'll just say our township administration board, when I do my speaking to them, I make sure that they understand that the fire service, the volunteer fire service, not only is not what we used to know it to be, and not only is it going away, it's like gone. It's only those that are sticking to it, that are keeping it going.
What do you mean gone?
The way we used to know it is gone. You don't have as I mentioned, those child labor laws. Those have all changed. So the keeping the interest is nowhere near as easy as it used to be. So that's gone.
Right.
Okay. The husbands working and the wives being at home, which would allow for more time for the husbands to maybe spend at the fire department because their wives weren't working anyway. They weren't at a job all day.
Never thought
that's
about
gone.
that.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
So that's gone.
Yeah.
The responsibilities that maybe, and I don't mean men or women, husband or wife, it's anybody.
Sure.
This responsibilities have changed over the years. So there's not as much time to spend at the fire department that there might have used to have been.
Yeah.
And other people have everything else going on. Not everybody works an 8-hour day anymore.
Right.
It might be 10, 12 hours a day. It might be 2 or 3 jobs to get by. So that has all played into the volunteer fire service to where people just don't think they have the time or can make the time.
What does it do for the departments and for the crews if they're not spending time at the station because
it's a good question.
they can't?
Yeah.
What does that do for crew continuity when you're on calls?
Well, again, that's another thing that has gone away. The brotherhood as we used to know it, in my opinion and many others, has really changed. Or I don't want to say gone away. There's still a brotherhood there.
Sure.
But it's changed because you're just not as close as you used to be in many aspects. I do know that there's still plenty of volunteer fire organizations that have been able to create some pretty fancy ways of recruitment and retention, and that helps with that brotherhood to where you can keep people in the fire station, whether it's paying people per call, paying for duty shifts, if you will, and maybe some other instances, or even nicer equipment where some volunteers might have that others don't. And who wants to go hang around at a firehouse that has a dirt floor?
Sure.
And that's all they can afford. That's they make it happen. But a lot of people would more tend to go hang out at a fire station that is, a $10 million fire station where there's, nice rooms to hang out in, big screen TVs, training rooms, brand new equipment, brand new fire apparatus. So, that takes a toll on it as well.
recruitment retention. I mean, we were in D.C. this last week, the three of us, and there was congressmen that were asking about that topic of recruitment and retention in the fire service. What different departments are doing. I mean, what are you guys doing from a recruitment retention standpoint, and what could you do, or have you thought of different ways to increase the recruitment and retention?
So what we do, and a program that we just adopted along with our local government about a little over, I guess it's been about a year and a half ago, is that we do pay per call.
Okay.
And we do a duty shift program.
Okay.
And of course, that's funding that comes from local government, where they found the money to be able to do that. And when I did my presentation, I explained to them that this is needed. We can't afford a 100% career fire department where I live. You just can't do it. But there are ways to help that recruitment retention. So what we do is that pay per call, and I don't know the exact numbers as I sit here, but if you respond to an incident, you do get a very small stipend. And I want to say it's like $5.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but we do run, let's just say we answer 600 calls a year. You make half of those. $300 times 5 is what? $1,500. So it's $1,500 that you didn't have before.
Sure.
Because for years, since I was 12 years old, 1986, you know what I got? Zero. So to get $1,500, that's nice. Now, you also have a duty shift program that the same bank of money goes towards. What we did as the fire company, we put some money into uniforms. So when you're at the firehouse doing a duty shift, you're not just in a beat-up pair of shorts and an old T-shirt. You're going to look professional. So we took money and we said, hey, you can have up to $200 to go get your uniforms, in a collared shirt, T-shirt, shorts, long pants, whatever you want. And the local government, as I said, puts the money into the stipend for that program. So if you're at the fire station for 2, 4, 6, 8 hours, there's money that you will get paid. And I believe it's, I don't even know what it is. I want to say it's like $5 an hour or something, or $10 an hour. So that, again, that's a little bit of a help there. And we did see that it has helped our, maybe not our recruitment more than our retention.
Okay.
Because the guys and men and women that are already there, now they're getting something, so it's holding them there, keeping them there, keeping them there. We actually, on our own, we do a fundraiser once a month. We raffle off, we do a gun ticket. And when I implemented this ticket to our board of directors, I said, hey, here, I'll head this ticket up, but it only goes to recruitment and retention. We can't pay our bills with it. We can't buy equipment with it. We can't do anything with it except spend it towards recruitment and retention. And they're like, have at it. So we do this ticket every month. It's $5 or $10 a ticket. There's 250 tickets. You do the math, depending on what kind of gun we give away. It's usually a gun that we give away and some ammunition. They sell well in our area. But that pot goes to recruitment and retention, whether it's a new big screen TV. If the guys want a big screen TV, and the guys know this money's there, so they come to me every once in a while, or I'll go to them and say, hey, what do you want? This money's here. Let's get you something. What do you want?
Interesting.
It could be for brand new roller chairs around the dinner table if they want that. If they want to go to a Pittsburgh Pirates game.
Oh, that's cool.
If they want to go to a Pittsburgh Steelers game or a Penguin game, the Wheeling Nailers hockey team, we go there. So whatever they want to use that money for, it's theirs.
Yeah.
And it's just that more or less have fun with and do something they enjoy. We have the trap shoot or the clay bird shoot coming up next weekend. So any firefighter or their family that signs up for our team, cost them $0. That recruitment retention money goes to pay that.
Nice.
So those are some ways that we've taken, or some steps we've taken for recruitment retention.
Yeah, that's good.
Don't get it wrong. I've lost a lot of money on those tickets. He comes over here like a snake oil salesman. He's like, I got another gun ticket. I'm like, I just have $5. I don't even want the gun. I'm not going to win money.
Now, some people have been fortunate over here. I know Scott Strasser has won. Tim Grant won. And I want to say...
That's how you keep it greased, though. You got to let a
every
couple of
once in
people
a
win.
while.
Every once in a while.
You got to give a bone every once in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so. Hopefully, that answers your question. It's those are some ideas that we came up with, and I know many others throughout the country have come up with, just trying to figure out some creative ways to recruit and retain members.
I want to circle back to the fundraising thing because that came up the other day. It was an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
But let's jump around a little bit.
Go off the rails.
Well, I'm going to ask the question, and then it
Let's
might
see if
go
it goes
off the
there.
rails. Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay,
the
so let's take it back. What are some of the earliest stories that you can share from your time in the fire service?
You can
Like
change names if you want.
What are the earliest things that you like that really stick out to you from when you started in the fire service?
In fundraising or just anything?
No. Just like calls or
I can tell you about the fundraisers with the dancing girls upstairs when we used to have to. They used to have to cover the glass on the doors.
Here we go. Yeah. Here we go.
Oh,
Those
boy.
are the stories.
You know, man, that's a tough question. There's so many. It's from maybe having Friday night bingos. Like you knew every Friday night was a bingo. You knew that every Thursday night was an auction that the old timers did. And after that, then as things went on, every Thursday night was training. Like it's bred in my head. The second Wednesday of every month was meeting night, your monthly meeting night. So it was just like Groundhog Day, where those certain things were every night of the week. I remember. Again, volunteer fire service, the fire pager goes off before we even have pagers. I remember back when I was young and, before 12 years old, that we had bells in our house down in the basement. And if those bells rang, that was the alert that you got in your vehicle and went to the fire station. You got there, you found out what the call was, where it was, you got in the fire truck and you went.
You had bells in your personal basement?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was worked through like a phone system.
Got it.
So the phone line would somehow, connect to those bells, and they would ring, and
Interesting.
away you went. Or that was before my time as being a member, but yeah.
Because you guys also have a bell or a horn or something that goes off, it used to
like town.
Yeah. Almost like a siren or something.
So
right.
So Pennsylvania. I'll use Western Pennsylvania as an example. Was big into the firehouse sirens. So, like, you might know them over here as a tornado siren.
Yep.
Over there, it was the fire department. So that was another way to alert personnel if they lived close enough to hear the siren.
Sure.
And it also alerted, like, traffic around the firehouse to know that the fire truck was going to be pulling out of the fire station. But they're still around. Not nearly as prevalent as they used to be, but they are still around. And there's also what's called a Gamewell system, that would signal, and it's like a horn that would blow, and that would signal to different areas or different boxes to where the incident was. So if you went to a corner on a street on the telephone pole, there might have been a box there. You would pull the lever on the box down. It would signal to the firehouse. Whoever was at the watch desk would take a disc and put it in the Gamewell system, pull a lever, and that would click. Like, we'll just say 2 and 4 for 24. So that was box alarm 24, and you knew it would blow the horn 2 and then 4 and then 2 and then 4. But anyway, to go to that box 24. That incident would be right there somewhere.
But what if the incident wasn't like right there? Like it's box 24, but in the vicinity of box 24.
So whoever pulled the box, you pull the box, you stay there.
Yeah.
And when the fire department gets there,
kids ever pulled that.
Oh, I'm sure it happened all the time. Yeah.
You were probably one of them, right?
Oh. No, I can say I never did that. But yeah, that's how that worked. And you'll see in some museums and fire buffs, they collect this type of stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, the Charleroi Fire Department still has a working system. And so does the Stockdale Fire Department, which is right up the river from Charleroi.
Their box system still works.
Well, they don't still have the boxes, but they still, like, if a call comes in through 911 now and it's 124 First Street, they know that that's box 8, we'll say.
Oh, okay.
So they throw it in the system, pull it, it blows, and
it
still
that's
works.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but the fire sirens, they've pretty much gone by the wayside for the most part. But that's how it used to work. I do remember those. But I remember we had a box. It was called a monitor, not a monitor, but a monitor. And those were in the houses after the bell system. And when you left the house, you couldn't take it with you because it was a box about the size of the width of a shoebox, and then maybe a couple inches thick. So when that alerted, that was whoever your dispatch center would alert that, and it would let you know where the call was. Dispatcher would come on and say, but that's only if you were in the house you would hear that.
Right.
And then we went to minutors, which you carried on your side, and then you could get alerted anywhere you were with that.
Gotcha.
Pagers? What are they?
Minutors?
Yeah, it's like a monitor. I don't have mine's in my truck. Actually, no, it's probably at home. But it's like a little square thing, smaller than that thing you got there. and it would just vibrate or beep, and
Isn't it called a pager?
Kind of like a pager.
Yeah, you can call. Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fire pager, minute.
Okay.
It was like a Minitor might be a manufacturer's term, like a Motorola
gotcha.
Minitor.
Yeah.
Could very well be what that is.
And that just got
But
adopted for
like
it's just a
St. Jaws
monitor
of
kind of
life
thing.
and-
Yeah. No.
Yep.
Did you seriously?
No,
say-
I said it's
say
it's
that
like
on this
that.
podcast?
I said it's like that, right?
What did he say?
He said Jaws of Life.
I said it's like
Oh my
right.
God. It's a brand.
It's a brand.
Yeah, yes.
It's not every
Correct.
These are not called Jaws
like
of Life.
Kleenex.
That's a brand. See, people need to be informed. I'm just helping. I'm just helping.
I'm sorry. I take it back.
So those are some of the things I remember from way back when and how it evolved. Some other stuff would be maybe like the first time. I don't remember the exact first time I got to ride on a fire truck, but I remember when I was started to be allowed to ride on a fire truck. That was the coolest thing ever. That's what you wanted to do. That's why you were there. I think my first actual fire that I ever went to was it was funny because it was my last day of high school. I was 17 when I graduated, and back then we were allowed to go on certain fires, but not everything till you're 18. And I had just graduated high school. It was the last day of school. Got home like a half day early and went to the firehouse. And a dumpster fire at the school district that happened. So
Really?
that was my first fire ever. And what they found out was that the janitor had put some hot millings. They were grinding something downstairs and put some hot millings into the dumpster, and it caught the garbage on fire in the
Interesting.
dumpster. But I do remember that.
So you got to go on that one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you'd been dragged into a burning building when you were 14 or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right, what's a dumpster
what's a
burning?
dumpster
Yeah.
fire?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question to ask it. Let's see if we go off the rails a little bit. Have you ever had a moment and calls where you said, "Did that just happen?"
I can't say. I've had one. Man, that's a tough question. I can tell you this. I don't see it or say it in the past 20 years
Okay.
because
You just expect it.
you just expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The stuff you have seen through the years,
Yeah.
you might have said once or twice. But maybe how the hell did that happen? Like,
Okay.
How did they do that?
Yeah.
Right.
I always said, like, some of these crashes, I wish we could have them on camera to see just how in the hell it
Sure.
happened. Like, how
Yeah.
do you do that? I'd like to try that.
Yeah, I'd like to try that.
Try that.
Reenact.
But
Let's go.
but no, I see. You say sometimes you think you've seen it all, and I've seen not to get gruesome, but death. Whether it's limbs ripped off, heads smashed on the interstate, bodies torn apart, whatever. You see it. So I think you come like to a certain point where you're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that affect you? I mean, as a firefighter or as a fire chief, how does it affect you when you see a death?
Oh, well, you can talk to my counselor about that one.
We can't. There's HIPAA laws.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know. I've tried to figure that out over the years. I've been told that my emotions and feelings are shut down because of that. I don't know. They say it's a bad thing, but I don't see it as a bad thing because I don't let things bother me like some people do, and I think that's a good thing. I can brush things off very easily because it's just you put that wall up and it's gone. You put it back here. It's still there, but I don't think. To answer your question was how does it bother you or how does it
affect you?
Yeah, how does it
not,
affect
not
you?
necessarily bother you because it might not bother you as you're saying.
Well, it does. Again, I talk to counselors about it through the years.
Sure.
It bothers. It say it again. Bothers or affects. Affects.
Correct.
So it can affect your personal life.
Okay.
It can affect your marriage. It does affect your marriage. It can affect your relationship with your kids. It can. It does. I know that. It can affect your relationships with friends. You can be non-sociable at times. You can be standoffish at times.
Sure.
So there's many ways that can affect you. Now, whether you figure out how to get through that or not is up to each individual. And I chose to talk to people about it. It's never going to go away. It's there forever.
Yep.
So you just kind of keep it in the back of your mind. It does affect you in many different ways, though.
And have you seen others or have you worked with others, mentored, coached, led others that maybe it affected them in the negative?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Several. And what we try to do that as a team. So we can call on a crisis intervention team if something catastrophic does take place.
Okay.
And that team will come in, and normally once that process is done, as fire chief, it's more my job to talk to that person or those people and say, hey, if there's anything else I can do, I don't want to get into your business, but if there's anything else I can do, please know that I'm here for you. I've seen this shit. I've lived it. So just let me know how I can help. It's just being there for somebody, I guess, is the best you can do. And if they don't want to reciprocate, you can't make them. I'm willing and free to talk about anything I've ever seen because whatever, it is what it is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure within the fire service, there's a lot of people that deal with it in different ways. Good, bad, indifferent.
Right.
When you see somebody that possibly is not receptive to them being able to share or being able to open up, even though they're not receptive, have you ever kind of pushed that because you saw that it truly is impacting them? Did you have to push that a little bit?
Yes, I'll say yes.
Without going into too many details,
yeah,
obviously.
I'm just trying to think of some in particular ones. In ways that I might push it from saying that, hey, here's a number to my counselor.
Sure.
Give them a call, and I leave it at that.
Sure.
I can't make you call them,
Sure.
but here's the number. If you call them, it's up to you. I'll never know if you called them or not unless you tell me, and you don't have to tell me. But if you ever want to talk about it, here I am. But I've had to maybe push it in that effect before to say, hey, go get some help, and here's the number to do it. And if they don't do it from there, I can't make them.
We see it in the fire service. There's a lot of strong personalities within the fire service.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And if somebody's set on this is how they're dealing with it, sometimes that's hard to breach.
Yeah.
Even especially if you see it and or at least you obviously you don't know for sure. There's no way you know for sure, but you're pretty aware that, man, they need something here.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about, the stigma that comes with being a firefighter. Like when you become a firefighter, you have to be tough. You have to be the guy or the girl that, can handle it. And so there's a lot of that. And I think it's, it can be ego driven. Like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
100%. And that was me.
Right.
I don't know if it was, maybe it was more ego or just being a tough guy, but I didn't think that it bothered me. I don't know if it was because of an ego or I just didn't think it bothered me.
Yep.
But in all actual reality, at one point in time, and I guess it still does. I mean, you still think about it. I guess it did bother me.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just didn't know it.
Sure.
And I didn't know that I was affecting other people for certain reasons, for those reasons. So, yeah, it was. It's a very strange situation, and at the end of the day, we volunteer. We're not even paid to do this,
Right.
And it's pretty much fucked us up for life. That's the crazy thing. But it's all in how you do it.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody made me do this. I
Right.
didn't choose it as a career.
Right.
It's a hobby. So show me another hobby that's fucking you up for life. Find it.
Meth.
Well, I guess that could be a hobby if that's a hobby.
That's one avenue.
I'm a little bit too fast. Meth.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one that gets me every time.
So, okay. Since this thing is called a podcast and it records and people listen, I don't know, maybe we have 3 people listening, maybe 4 listening.
We for sure have 4.
We have 4.
Yeah. and my mom.
And your mom.
Yeah.
My mom.
Hi, Mom.
Well, hi, Mom.
I think we get 10.
Okay.
I think it'd be all right.
So
That's
we
good
got
enough
10
for me.
people listening. Maybe there's an 11.
Okay.
Okay. And that 11, we don't know who that is. And they stumble across this podcast because it says volunteer chief from Pennsylvania. And they're like, hey, I'm from Pennsylvania. And they're that person that hasn't been able to share or been able to open up, and they're carrying this shit.
Yeah.
What's your advice to them?
I did it. I mean, I'm a big guy, 6'6", 330 pounds. And, I come off to a lot of people as a big, tough, strong guy. I had to put my wall down at some point. I was able to do it. I was able to, and I'm still able to do it. I'm able to talk to people about it. I can just sit here with the three of us talking. You talk about it. It's something to talk about. So my advice is, don't be that tough guy forever. Go get the help. Go talk to somebody. Talk to me. Call me. 724-350-7233. Call me.
Good thing there's only 11 people listening.
That's a first. We got a phone number here.
Hey, my phone number is all over the internet and everywhere else. I don't care.
But
Bunch of bathroom stalls.
But that's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
And although people think that they can't share, there is somebody that's willing to listen.
Absolutely.
I'm willing to listen.
Right.
What do you see? What would you say is like? Do you notice a difference between when you were like, "Oh, I'm good. I don't need to," and then after you, maybe not even the first time because it probably takes a couple of times, but like, do you notice a difference after you went and talked to somebody?
Myself, yes.
Yeah.
Do other people notice a difference in me? I don't know that that's true.
And that's probably fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Does it feel better when I walk out of a counselor's office? Absolutely, 100,010%. Yeah.
Well, I think there are probably a few groups of people in the world that are really good at compartmentalizing.
Oh gosh.
Firefighters are one of them.
They're probably the top of the list.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yep.
Well, even from the standpoint of having the ability to compartmentalize, those people are usually really good problem solvers, which in the fire service, you have to be a problem solver, right? So to be able to compartmentalize, you're seeing all these different elements and you can separate them out. But there is a downside to that or a side effect to that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you make a good point when you say, problem solving. We as firefighters, or me as a fire chief, it's my job to recognize a problem, figure it out, fix it quick.
Yeah, you don't get time to think about it.
So what happens when what happens when I go to an incident where you see something that's gruesome? What am I going to do as a firefighter? I'm going to figure out what happened. I'm going to take care of it, and we're doing it quick, and we're out of there.
Yep.
We're on to the next one.
Yep.
Did I deal with that one yet? Probably not. And it just
point.
builds up, and because that's what we do.
Well, even thinking from like a family, you talked about family relationships, spouse.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times where, let's say we're talking about career department where somebody's on a shift for 3 days, 4 days. Day one, they had an incident, and then they had another call and another call. By day 5, when they get home, they're not thinking about this,
Right.
but it's still there.
Oh, yeah.
And spouse, I mean, there's times where spouse will say, I never knew you had a call like that.
That probably happens more often than not,
Oh,
if
yeah.
I had to guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's, I think, the practice of being able to let things out and more or less ventilate them.
Yeah.
Just because out of nowhere, you're all of a sudden, oh, yeah, I had this one incident and I keep on thinking about it, but what am I supposed to do with that? That was 4 days ago.
I think part of that is, too, that some guys and girls, I don't mean to say guys, but we'll say firefighters in general, they don't want to bring that home. That's not their spouse's problem.
Wow.
And maybe it depends on how your relationship is with your spouse. Is your spouse your best friend ever, and you tell them everything, and you're with them all the time, or how much do you tell them? Maybe you just don't think about telling them. It could go either way. It could go several different ways. And for example, my wife, she probably doesn't know about everything that is in my head.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
It's not because I don't want to tell her, I don't need to tell her. I just don't tell her. We just don't talk about that. That's not something we talk about. She's been in the counselor's office with me when we talked about some things, but that's a good point. We'll talk about those certain incidents. That I think you had asked, like, does it go away or does it never go away? I could take this is reflecting on stuff I've told my wife. There's one incident that stands out. A lady that I used to work with, and I don't want to mention any names or where I worked at the time, but what we worked with was mostly our hands. and we stood next to a person when we worked all day long. And this lady actually, she had committed suicide, and it was a very gruesome sight, if you will, and it was on the interstate, and I was the first one there, and I'm looking, and I said, I saw this lady's hands. I couldn't make out anything about her.
Interesting.
But I saw her hands.
No way.
And I said, that is...
No way.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly who it was.
No way.
Wow.
Yep. And I knew, just because I worked with her for all those years,
Sure.
I knew exactly what her hand... It's weird or not, I just knew what her hands looked like. And that'll never leave my head ever.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And then funny that we talk about these gruesome ones, though it was either 1 week before or 1 week after, just not even a mile up the road, a guy had just got out of prison, was driving down the road with his girlfriend, car breaks down, she stays in the car, he gets out of the car to check on the car, tractor trailer comes by, wipes him out.
Damn.
Yeah. Yep. Right within a mile of each other. Like right there. So, those two are just two examples. Those two stick together because they were right within a week of each other.
right.
They're right there. But yeah, you never forget that. You might as well see a deer on the highway, hit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And they're linked in your brain because of just literal
For
proximity.
that reason. Proximity and time frame.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep. Yep. I don't know how much time we have.
We got as much time as you want, buddy. As much time
It's a
as you want.
3-hour podcast? Is that
Yeah.
what we're doing?
So I'll tell you another quick one.
Okay.
This is a long one. This is not a quick one. So this is kind of scary. So my daughter was, excuse me. Daughter. I do feel a lot better though. So my daughter was about, she was less than a year old. She was born in April. This happened in December. Give you an idea, okay? So we're leaving the house week or so before Christmas. We're going to go get a Christmas tree, all right? Leave the house. Call comes in for a crash on the interstate right by my house. And I said, well, hell, it's right here. Like, all we got to do is go down the ramp, and it's like going to be right here. So let's see what's going on. So it's snowing out. Roads are bad, of course. Go down, pull in, car rolled over. Guy is already out of the car. He was hurt, but he wasn't hurt bad. Excuse me. I pull in. I'm standing there. I forget. There was a truck driver going the opposite way. He stopped in the opposite. He stopped in the westbound lane. This crash was in the eastbound lane. He comes over to check on the driver of the car to make sure they were okay, which he was. He was just banged up a little bit. So I'm standing there. My truck is in the middle of the road. We're slowing traffic down. My rescue engine is pulling into the crash. They pull off and start to set up for traffic. And all I hear is, get out of the fucking way on the radio. Well, look up. Here's a guy coming towards the crash, a pickup truck pulling a camper behind him. Couldn't stop.
Oh, boy.
So, no. So he comes up, he goes around my rescue engine. The guy that was just getting out of the rescue engine slams the door back shut, so he was okay. I jump back in my pickup truck. Mind you, my pickup truck had about 3,000 miles on it, okay? Brand new truck.
Yeah.
I jump back in my pickup truck. This guy in that truck that lost control comes down around off the hillside that he went up around to miss my rescue engine, he crashes into the vehicle that was in the original crash.
Oh, God.
At the same time, he threw that vehicle into my truck and hit my truck hard enough. I was in it, my wife was in it, and my daughter was in it. Hit it hard enough that it pushed us across the road, ended up totaling my pickup truck.
Dang.
That's not the bad part. The truck driver that stopped to help the guy, he got hit by this guy that lost control, killed him dead right in front of us. Watched it all happen.
The guy that stopped to help.
Yep. Just stopped to help. Truck driver stopping to help. Week before
Holy
Christmas.
shit.
That's up here. It'll never leave. Watch it all happen. I can see it right now.
Damn.
Yeah. And my daughter was in this truck.
Yeah,
so
no shit.
from that point on, never, ever have I gone to an incident.
To a call, yeah.
So we were all fine. We just went to the hospital. Everybody got checked out. We were good. Got banged up a little bit, but that poor truck driver, all he was doing was stopping to check on that guy that rolled over, and that other guy come up over, lost control, killed him dead.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So that's one I've always stick.
That's
there
a crazy one, yeah.
Yeah.
Who hit you on the radio? Who saw him coming?
Yeah,
like, who knew he wasn't going to be able to stop?
The driver of my rescue engine. He saw it in his mirror.
And he could tell, like, he was just going too fast,
yeah.
snow. Like, he just knew he wasn't going to be able to stop.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's some pretty good situational awareness on his part.
Right.
Just by him saying that.
Yeah.
How many lives did he save?
Right.
No shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. I mean, it's the amount of stories. We have stories in our head all the time, and they run whether we know they're running or not.
Yep.
And they affect everything we do, every decision we make, every conversation we have.
Right.
You're driving down the highway and you see somebody broken down or a car accident and see somebody help.
Yep.
Things that trigger you, whether it's a bad trigger or it causes issues, or sometimes it could be a good thing. But it's amazing to rerun some of those stories and you look at it and go, okay, what can I do about that?
Yeah.
Well, the reality is at this point, nothing. But how can I use it? How can I shape that into something that is beneficial? I don't want to. I'm not going to get rid of it. You can't get rid of a memory. That doesn't happen.
Right.
But you can change the perception and the story that is aligned to that memory. And I think that's where some of you, what you're talking about, like, hey, this stuff doesn't really affect me. I'm wondering how much you change that story in your head of a memory.
Yeah.
And
You do. I know you do. Because you're the most positive motherfucker I've ever met in my life.
Right. I mean, and you do. I mean, so the positive spin on the story that I just told with my daughter, we didn't get hurt. You know, we didn't get hurt. My firemen, not one of them got hurt. Bystander got killed. It's a shame. But you know what? We all walked away. It could have been way worse.
Could have been way worse.
how many lives were saved?
Yeah.
How many lives? I mean, you look at it from that framework.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you're getting the right internal drugs that actually help you rather than destroy you.
Right.
And so for some people, some firefighters that are running stories that are negative,
They'll eat you alive.
Oh, yeah.
they kill you.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize from a stress standpoint. If you run that story back, your brain doesn't know the difference of it happening right now or it happened 20 years ago.
That's a good point.
The brain thinks it's happening right now.
Yeah.
And so it triggers all the stress hormones into your whole body. And now you're making decisions that are not beneficial.
Yep.
You're talking to people that is not beneficial. Like, so the importance of changing that story or how you see that memory,
Yep.
it's a powerful tool.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I agree 100%. And, you know, I play a lot of that, like you just said, into my sales world as well, and my sales job. Because, you know, if I dwell on a sale that I might have lost, just like dwelling on an incident that I might have saw, if I keep dwelling on that, worrying about it, and you know, keep refiring those bad thoughts, it's just like a sale that you might have lost. So if I keep worrying about that one, I lost this one. I can't. How did I do? What happened here? What's going on? I can't think forward on how to get the next sale. Yeah. So I've learned through my fire service career, volunteer, if you will, to let it go. Let it go. Move on, asshole. You know, as you guys tell yourself, move on, asshole. What are you doing?
Internal monologue.
Yeah. Let's go. Flip it.
There it is.
Shameless plug.
Flip it.
Flip it.
Not shameless. That's
All right.
okay. Maybe it is, but
We'll get into that.
we'll eventually at some
We'll
point.
get into that. All right. So on a lighter note, give me a story that you can remember, or actually, and maybe not even on a lighter note, but this came up in a past episode about doing training so you can make sure you do the right things. And so, is there anything that you can remember from we'll call it like a close call, where it could have gone, and that actually is probably a good one. Like, that could have gone way worse.
Yeah.
But, is there anything that sticks out that, like, it went one way that could have gone way worse, and then you guys, you were like, all right, we got to go back and train on this so we don't do it like that again?
Yeah, well, there's a few. I'll just use a car fire as an example. I can remember, this is going back years ago, where we were at a vehicle fire, and the front bumper, we were standing in front of the car, and one of us was in front of the car, the other two were on the side of the car, and the front bumper, from the shocks and the bumper getting heated up too much from the fire, the front bumper flew off from the driver's side and wrapped around the passenger side. It like exploded.
Whoa.
Now, the guy that was in front of the vehicle, it missed his legs by a fraction of a centimeter. And, of course, us on the side of the vehicle, we were fine. But that's an incident there where we went back and said, and we knew that could happen. We just weren't thinking. We went back and said, hey, you do not attack a vehicle fire from the front of this front of a vehicle anymore. So that, just to give you an example, that's one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and you know the interstate. We'll go back to that. There's been examples where nobody had got hurt, but a close call was to where a truck. I can remember a water hauling truck coming around a bend and didn't realize that we were setting up. We had just pulled into an incident, and he missed our truck by an inch probably.
Wow.
Like I don't know how he didn't hit it. And there was guys sitting on the front bumper of our apparatus when it happened. So now one of our protocols or SOGs is you do not sit on the front bumper of the apparatus. If that guy would hit that fire truck, who knows what would happen with those guys on the front. And there's also some other SOGs that have come out of that incident and others to where you just learn from your mistakes so nobody does get hurt or killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember that original question? Did that just happen? Like we're getting a few of those answers.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
Yeah. But there again, did it just happen? Yes. But was it a surprise?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
It could. I could go home. What the hell day is today? I could go home Sunday.
Yeah.
And we could have a close call Sunday night. And you know what I'm going to say? Thank God nobody got hurt. Let's go.
No.
Okay.
Am I surprised? No.
So going with the lighter note, now I'm going to ask this question. What's the funniest call you've ever been on?
Jeez, that's a tough one.
There's a story floating around out there in Pennsylvania about something about goats coming out of a barn on fire. I don't know if you told me that or if Curcio told me that.
Oh, we've had that.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. We've had goats coming out of a barn on fire. We've
Of course,
had
that happens, right? I mean,
Anything's possible in Pennsylvania.
we had llamas.
Oh God.
Yeah.
on fire?
Yeah. Yep.
What was the story to that? How'd the llama catch on fire?
Just it was in the barn when the barn caught fire, and it caught fire, and
Now the llama's on fire.
yeah, now the llama's on fire.
What do you do with it?
No, they were fine. We actually, I don't even remember how we put it out, but
Llama on fire, running.
it wasn't like it was a ball of fire. It was like its hair was burning a little bit, smoking. But yeah, we've had that. We've had calls where we've had to catch other animals. Like a farmer will call and say, "Hey, can the volunteer fire department come and help me catch my cows?" Well.
No way.
I guess so. Yeah, we do everything else. So let's go do it. Let's see what this turns into.
On a horse.
That's
on a horse.
On a horse.
See?
Yeah.
Firefighting on a horse.
Yep. We had it really wasn't a fire call, if you will, but talking about goats, we had a jackass, a donkey, walking down the street.
Oh yeah, that's where my mind went. Yeah.
So we had walking down the street, and I believe it came like right in front of the fire station. So we didn't know whose it was. I think this was before Facebook. We were trying to make some phone calls to see if it was any farmers.
Yep.
Well, we had a farmer that said they would take it until the owner, we could figure out whose it was. So we got our trailer. Actually, I think it was a Genesis trailer, 14-foot box trailer. Put one guy from the fire station. He
put him in the trailer?
Put him in the trailer with the donkey, closed it all up. We took the thing to the farm.
Oh God.
That was a good time.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah, that was pretty funny. But it's
Did somebody call you about it, or you just saw it in front of the fire station?
I think we saw it in front of the fire station.
This looks like a call to us. Let's go, boys.
I don't remember if it was right in front of the
that?
fire station or up the street. That's been 15 years ago. 20 years ago. But that was a funny one. I don't know if there's really one that stands out more than the other, but there's been some funny ones.
All right, one more because we're on a good train.
Yeah, I know.
So, what about what's one that you remember that was it might be the wrong term, but like the most successful, or the one that you feel the best about?
Bragging is allowed here.
Absolutely.
What is it?
Bragging
is
allowed here.
Yeah, I really don't have. I don't think I have any bragging, but
Oh, come on.
what I have to think. You know what? There's probably. I don't know if there's one, because there's
all of them. All of them.
Yeah,
were the best. I mean,
yeah,
he was successful.
Yeah, successful in all of them.
You're just
Yeah,
you're the most.
well,
You're just the best.
I'm just the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See how it helps you out. I would say, there's best calls or most successful calls in several different categories.
Sure. Right.
So I can
right.
tell you that there's people walking around today that were in full cardiac arrest when we arrived at their house.
Yeah.
That we saved, and we can relate that back to us.
I would call that successful.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that very successful. There is just last year there was a guy that accidentally cut his wrist with a grinder. Called the fire department, of course, called 911. Fire department EMS goes, we're first to arrive. The crew that was there was a top-notch crew, and the guy credits us still today, for saving his life, and he didn't bleed out because he could not stop the bleeding, cut his wrist deep.
Yeah.
So that's a
awesome.
big success, and he's walking around today like nothing ever happened.
Wow.
Yeah. I could ride past houses that caught fire in our district, and we were able to save them. And you see the houses brand new, you'd never know it burnt. So those are very successful and cool stories, to where the people will still praise us and say, hey, I remember it's been 20, 30 years ago, but you saved my house, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Or extricating people from a crashed vehicle. I can tell you there's two kids, they're older now, the kids that still I see every once in a while, and they remember when we got them out of the vehicle. Vehicle was burning. I remember a vehicle was burning where we were able to get them out in time. And, of course, it's gone the other way, too. I know we're not talking about the bad stuff right now, but it's gone the other way where we couldn't. So I guess sometimes when you have those bad ones, it makes the good ones even better because you can really make a difference. But there's several. That's in different categories. Yep.
That's the craziest part about the fire service where – man, you're talking about polar opposites.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you're talking about the worst of the worst, and it's sticking into your brain for a long time.
Yep.
Can't get it out.
Yep.
But then you have the best of the best.
Highest of the highs, lowest of the lows.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We never, ever see people on their best day.
That is true.
Don't happen. They're calling us for a
I
reason.
disagree a little bit. Because, like, when you go and you see, or the kids come back, or that guy comes back to the firehouse.
Well, after that.
You're never called.
You're never called.
Never called to your best day.
Correct.
But
correct.
The after effect can be.
Oh, it can be rewarding.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah. And, we people don't call us because they're having a good day.
Right. Fair point.
And when we go there, they expect 100%. We can't be 99%. Yep. We can't be 50%. They expect we know going there, they're having a bad day already because they've called us.
Yep.
And you better damn well give them 100%.
So that's a good segue into a conversation that we had a lot while we were in D.C. this past week, where if you're driving across the country, you should be able to expect the same level of expertise and professionalism no matter where you crash or have a heart attack or whatever. And
the reality?
Currently, that is not the case.
You're correct. And in our lifetime, probably never will be. That's the fact.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's tough.
But it's the truth.
And I think what we were doing in DC, and it's educating, and I think people just have to pay attention to it, be aware of it.
Did you see they suspended that?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. That's good.
Nice. That's sort of counterintuitive, but
I still don't understand.
In the governmental world, that's a good thing.
In our brain, we think it's bad, but in their brain, it's good. So,
yeah, exactly.
To give people a little background, what we're talking about.
Yep.
We were in D.C. this past week, and we were meeting with congressmen and all of them, congressmen and senators, and we were talking about the grants in the fire service and tried to help the fire service in general get funding for things like, especially the volunteer side of things, to get a vehicle or apparatus. Equipment. PPE, yeah.
Recruitment, retention.
Recruitment and retention, because
training.
There's a lot that is needed within the fire service.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, there's a reason why there's a volunteer fire service. You don't see too many volunteer of other government agencies.
Yeah.
There's no volunteer police force.
Yeah. Ask a policeman to go raise money to buy a new police car.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing against policemen, but
sure,
it's unheard of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ask the street department worker to go raise money to buy a new backhoe.
Yep.
Ain't happening.
No. And so it was a cool experience being able to go there and seeing, and we had, I mean, a lot of receptivity from the members from the House and from the Senate, but still at the same time, I mean, funding, it needed to increase. And so it was very educational on our side of it.
Sure.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you've been going for the last few years.
Yeah, still educational. You still learn.
Yeah.
You still learn from it, and
It was educational for us to see what
Yeah, man.
the
It
building.
It was my first time, so it was cool. It was interesting to be able to have some semblance of influence over our industry at such a high level.
Jeez.
That part was cool for me.
Mm-hmm.
Whole different world there.
Yeah,
Whole
absolutely.
different world
Definitely a different level.
there. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We also learned how many old fashions we can drink or can't drink. Some of us. Some of us.
When there's other factors to
yeah,
this,
yep.
like not eating, and we're trying to hurry to go to a restaurant.
We were?
I mean,
We'll go with that.
I'm
Yep.
just saying.
Yep.
I just needed some food.
Don't worry. In a week or two, we'll forget all about
Forget
that.
all about it. Yeah. Oh,
Shit.
Man.
well, out of respect for your time, I know we got some other stuff going on
I'm
today.
a very important person.
You
yes.
are a very important person,
have
so I want to say
4 other podcasts today.
thank you.
He's starting his own podcast. Do
Yeah.
you know that?
I'd like to ask you guys a few questions.
Let's turn this table. Let's do it.
How many old fashions does it take till you forget your name?
I think it's 4.
4. Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
No, I just want to say thank you for your time.
you're welcome.
Is there anything you want to say to all 11 of our listeners, or
I think we got 12 now.
12 listeners, or even us? How can people help? How can we help local fire departments, volunteers? What would you put out there?
Well, that's a loaded question. To the listeners, I mean, share the podcast if you can. Share it, put it out there. Let people see it. Let people listen to it. Anything you can do to promote it, we appreciate that. I'm sure you guys obviously appreciate it. What can you do for the volunteers? It's it's money. It comes down to money for the volunteers. And what we just did in Washington, D.C., that's what we can do for the volunteers for things like that. I know we can't pull money out of our pockets and just give them to buy equipment, but we can make them aware of monies that are available, whether it's grant monies, certain funding areas, and so on and so forth. That's how we can help volunteers and career staff too, as well. Even though they are funded by their government and tax dollars, they still need some help as well. It doesn't mean just because they're funded that they're getting the correct funding. Or the needed funding.
Awesome.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Training too. That's on top of everything as well as training,
Yeah.
which we do. So offer the training, and that's it.
If you're interested in being a volunteer.
Yeah. After all that, who wants to volunteer?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's
Recruitment.
like you said, it's sort of gone away. But if there's anybody out there that's got some interest, stop by the firehouse.
That's
like
right.
if they're interested, just say
Stop
hey.
by the firehouse. And social media, as much as
Yeah.
I despise it at times, it is a good thing as well at times.
Yeah.
Get a hold of us through social media. Send us a message. Send your local fire department a message on
Yeah.
Facebook. It's not all about fighting fire. In fact, especially with the volunteers, you might have heard me mention this last week. We have become more of a fundraising entity at a lot of times because we need to raise those funds to be able to provide the protection that we need to provide.
Correct.
So, but yeah, you can help out in other ways. It just doesn't mean you're going to go into a burning house or go cut somebody out of a vehicle. Maybe you just come and help out with fundraising. Maybe you help out with the financial end. Maybe you help and be a secretary. Who knows? There's many other aspects.
That's cool. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think understanding the funding side of it, what that means, goes back to the service area. Like, if there's no funding, then you can't provide the service
Right.
that the community needs.
Yeah.
And it's crucial to training, it's crucial to the equipment. All that stuff is needed in order to provide the service that you've been called to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and you need the community-based volunteer fire department. There's no doubt. Some people might think, well, if my fire department doesn't come, well, maybe the neighboring one will show up. Well, that might be true, but how long is it going to take them to get there? Are they busy? Are they a busy organization? Maybe they're out on other incidents during the day or evening, and then it's going to go to the next organization that might come in. Now we're at the third one. Okay, that has been called in. Do they even have anybody available? Maybe they only have 5 members because volunteers are dwindling away. Now 20 minutes has gone by, and you need the fire service. So support your local fire department, fire company, however you want to look at it, EMS, whatever. Make sure you support them however you can. Don't be ignorant to the fact of what goes on because there's a lot that goes on that you don't know about.
Yeah. That's good.
I love it.
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time.
And for all those
Same
people that are wondering if we're seeing the video, yes, he is Big Show, and we didn't explain that before.
That'll be.
That was just a
I think
clarification.
we're gonna table that, and because there's a story there as well.
Yeah,
gosh.
that's another podcast.
That's
It
another.
is
We'll bring him
podcast.
back for another episode.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll talk about.
We'll see if
you
we'll
being the
invite
Big
you
Show.
back.
Where's in Nashville?
One of many places. Yeah.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.